start of a new week and a start of a new reading vlog. This week, my patrons are playing a mini version of my TBR game called Timmy's TBR-a-thon. And this round, because it is in October, is spooky themed. So I made a spooky themed Timmy's TBR board, and we will be trying to get to the end of that this week. Now, this month has not been the best reading month for me. My highest rated book was a 4, but I've only had one 4-star read this month. Everything else has been 3 or less, which is not necessarily how I wanted the month of October to go, and it's starting to make me feel a bit slumpy. So for this week with Timmy's TBR, I decided to kind of forego my big Timmy's TBR board, forego the TBR Harvest picks that I made, forego the Spookopoly picks that I made, and mood read for the week based off the prompts that come up. Because I need a win, friends. I need a good week. I need a good reading week so I avoid the slump that I can feel setting in. So before we go into what my first book is for Timmy's TBR, we have to see what the board gave us. So let's look at my first Timmy's roll. Roll number 1 is a 6, which gets us an iced coffee space and the prompt of autumnal cover. So as you can see, I got an iced coffee space and the prompt of autumnal cover. Now this prompt may be very good because as aforementioned, I did have one 4-star read this month and it was for the TBR Harvest prompt of autumnal cover. So maybe this prompt is just meant to be the prompt that gives me the best reads this month. We're going to cross our fingers and hope that we continue in that same vein. With the knowledge that I have thrown my TBRs out the window, I am going to pick up an anticipated release that came out a few months ago. It is also the final book in a series, which I have given 2 5-stars in. So like really, I should love this book. I did have one 3-star in that series, but we're going to just overlook that and hope that this follows the other 2 books that I did like. And that book is set in fall. It's a series that focuses on each book being in a different season, and the last one is obviously fall, so very autumnal, and that is Business Casual by B.K. Borison. If you see, she's got her mums. I love this cover. I love this series. I'm excited to finish it out with Charlie and Nova's book. I've already read 2 chapters of this book, so I'm just early days, and I'm glad that I read 2 chapters before coming to talk to you. Because even though I knew who this followed, I could not quite remember Nova super well from the previous books. I knew that Nova was a tattoo artist, but I did forget that she was Beckett's sister, so I remembered that reading the first 2 chapters of this book. She is our female main protagonist, and our male protagonist is Charlie, who is Stella's brother, Stella being the main male character in the first book who owns the tree farm that you have probably all heard about in Love Light Farms. I gave Love Light Farms 5. I gave In the Weeds 3. There was a lot of miscommunication in that book. And I gave Mixed Signals earlier this year 5 stars as well. So I'm hoping this is another 5-star read from this series. I adore this small town romance. This small town is the vibes of every small town you want in a small town romance. Their gossip about all the characters, the phone tree where they like use the telephone tree that should be to like spread information about the town, spreads a lot of gossip as well as useful information. I am obsessed with this town and I just want those vibes, and I just think this is going to be a win for me because obviously B.K. Borison has been a win many, many times. Also, I do really like Charlie and Nova from the little bits of time that I've spent with them in previous books. So I'm going to go dive in, read more than 2 chapters of this, and I will come back and chat with you about these characters in a little bit. So I was just reading this book and I meant to stop at 50% to come update you, and I was so intrigued and so enjoying myself that I read right to 60% without even noticing that I had passed the 50%. So I need to talk to you about this book. But before I do that, yesterday I went to a book swap event and I got some books at the book swap event. So let's talk about what I got. You would have seen a little bit of B-roll of that. This is the second time I've gotten to go to this event. It's at a local coffee shop. This one was books and lunch. We had like a soup, a coffee, a grilled cheese sandwich, which was on garlic focaccia, and it was delicious. I took quite a large bag to unhaul, which I did not film. I meant to. I forgot. It's fine. I took some books to unhaul and I ended up bringing home 3. As soon as I saw these there and that I could get to them before somebody else did, I picked up both of these. I read Legends and Lattes about a month and a half ago, and I really enjoyed this book, and it was my start into reading more cozy fantasy. I only have the Kindle copy, and I really wanted to read the prequel. So I was going to grab the prequel, which obviously I did, but I figured I'd also grab Legends and Lattes so that they would match on my shelves because, you know, that's very important. It's very important to have our books match. I have not read Bookshops and Bone Dust yet, but I have plans to read this. And now that I have a physical copy, it'll be even easier because I did not have the Kindle copy of this. I only had the Kindle copy of this. So now I have both, and I can't wait to find a place for them on my shelves to live. There were a lot of great books at this book event. However, the problem with most book swaps for me is that I just have a very large bookshelf selection. So really a lot of new releases, a lot of really popular books I tend to already own. So there were lots of great things there, but nothing that I necessarily didn't already have. But a book that was there, it is a thriller, and I'm not reading a ton of thrillers right now, but I do love Ruth Ware, and it is The It Girl by Ruth Ware. They had the hardcover copy of this there, so I ended up picking this up as well. Again, I'm not really in my thriller era at the moment, but I do love a Ruth Ware, and it'll be a fun palette cleanser in between maybe some chunkier fantasy books. That was the only books that I got at the book swap event. So now let's talk business casual because I am obsessed. This is doing exactly what I wanted it to, exactly what I needed it to. This is pushing me out of that almost slump that I was feeling, and I am just living for this book. I'm loving it. It's 5-star energy. As long as the third act breakup doesn't like wreck the whole book, this is going to be 5 stars. It's going to be, I love these characters. I love this book. We're getting a good amount of this small town that I know and have come to love for 3 books, but we're also getting a really good look at Charlie and Nova. Nova is opening her tattoo shop, and she is very stressed about opening her tattoo shop. And she is doing a lot for herself while building this business and also for the town because this is a small town and they need her help running the Harvest Festival. Nova suffers from chronic migraines, and this is definitely a discussion in this book, which is not a chronic illness that I hear talked about nearly enough in books, and I really love seeing it. I know so many people who suffer with chronic migraines, and I think it's so wonderful to see that representation in a book. Now, I do not suffer with chronic migraines, so I'm not 100% sure how true to form the representation is. I do not know if the author does. I haven't made it to the author's note to find out. But from what I know about chronic migraines, I think it's done pretty well. Charlie also is ADHD, so we have an ADHD main character and ADHD representation in this book as well. So there's some great representation in this book. They are both super flirty with one another. They are very flirty, and the banter is bantering. Also, this is like a one-night stand turned into a romance, so the smut is smutting. So we're having great smut, we're having great small town vibes, we're having great banter. Is there anything else that I could want? Oh, and representation. Like, there's nothing else you would want in this book. It has it all. I've even teared up at times because there are moments where Charlie is talking about something going on in his family, or Nova's talking about all the expectations she put on herself. And I just feel for them, and I understand them, and I understand their character motivations. And like, I've welled up a couple of times. I've laughed, I've loved, I've almost cried. It's everything. If this is not 5 stars when I come back here, when I finish this book, because I plan on finishing it tonight on Patreon sprints, because we have bonus sprints for the Timmy's TBR-thon readathon, something has disastrously happened at the end, okay? Like, it would have to be disastrous for me to not just overlook something silly and give this 5 stars, which will mean that 3 out of 4 books in this series will be 5-star books for me, which is very high praise. BK Borson doing it again, doing it, doing the things, doing the work. Thank you, BK Borson. I needed this book. I needed it. I needed this book in my life. And I'm going to go finish it because I didn't want to stop to come do this update, to be honest. I wanted to keep reading. So I am going to go keep reading this book. I only have like 100 pages left. How many pages do I have? I have 150 pages left. Not even. Just under. So I should be able to finish this tonight, especially since we have sprints tonight. So I definitely should finish tonight. And I cannot wait to see how this finishes. Most of you will know that I rarely stay up to finish a book. I love reading and I read so much, and I do have trouble falling asleep that if I miss my window of opportunity to go to sleep, I tend to not be able to. So it's just not something that I do very often. I did with this book. I had about an hour and a half left when my sprints ended, and I stayed up till 12:30 in the morning reading business casual. That in of itself should tell you how much I adore this book. 5 stars, obviously, actually like all the stars, every single one of them. I loved the way this wrapped up for the romance, but also how it wrapped up the Love Light Farm series. We got so much of this small town, especially at the end, throughout, but more at the end. And it really just put a really beautiful bow on the town of Inglewild. I was in tears at the end of this book, and I'm actually a bit heartbroken that I will never have a new Inglewild Love Light Farms book, but I can always go back and reread the ones that I loved. This series overall was a big hit for me. 3 5-star reads out of 4. Like, wow, this one being my favorite of all of my 5 stars in the series. I adore Charlie and Nova. I loved their flirty banter, their relationship. I love how they grew together. I also love that there was no third act breakup in this book. The conflict is external. Whenever that happens in a book, I just get so excited because romance doesn't always do that. As we know, third act breakups are fairly common. And I love when an author finds a way to bring that to the story, that conflict, without doing it with our characters. And I'm so glad that I kind of threw out my TBR this week to read this book because I needed a win, and we definitely got it. And I think with our next roll, we are going to continue with this momentum because I know what the roll is. Let's go look at the clip and then we'll talk about what I chose.
Our second roll is a 3. Gets us another iced coffee space and the prompt of a book you must finish before the end of the year. I have lots of those.
So as you saw, I got another iced coffee space and the prompt of a book I must read before the end of the year. This book, I really must read it and its sequel. They are on Timmies, but also the first book in this series is currently sitting as my best book of the year. I want to complete the whole trilogy so that I can talk about the trilogy as a collective in my best books of the year video. So I really need to get to the sequel, and I will honestly be shooketh if it's not a 5-star read for me. Absolutely shocked. And for those that know what that book is, that is Blood of the Chosen by Django Wexler. I've already started, as you can see, but I am still very early days into this book. And obviously, I'm not going to be able to really talk about what's happening in this book specifically. I'll talk about my vibes, but I'm not going to be able to talk about plot because everything is going to spoil the first book. But in this series, we are following twins Maya and Geyer. And they were separated at the age of 5 when the Order came and took Maya away. She has the powers to connect with the Chosen, and they take her away to train her to be a centaur. In the process of taking her away at the age of 5, they actually maim Geyer, and he loses an eye. Between the loss of his eye and the loss of his sister, he has a hate on for the Order, and now as an adult is set to bring them down. He starts a rebel army to take down the Order. Maya is now an adult in the Order. She is almost a centaur, and we do see her kind of grow into being one during the first book. They are on the opposite sides of this political system, and I am intrigued to see how that plays out throughout the trilogy. The reason I loved these books so much, obviously I was very intrigued in the plot, but the character work in these books, top tier, top tier. Maya and Beck, Geyer and Kit, and all the other characters that we meet in the book are just characters that I cannot wait to find out what kind of happens to them as we go through. There's a lot of found family in this book. There's a lot of just great everything. Everything is so great. I love these books so much. And I cannot wait to continue on Thursday sprints today because it is Thursday and sprints start very, very soon. And this is what I'm going to be focusing on. I'm already 43 pages into this book and I'm already having a fabulous time. To be honest, from about page 2, I was like, yes, this is why I love this series. Just the banter between two of our characters that we start off with was just everything that I wanted it to be and just reminded me how much I love this world, this writing style, these characters. I instantly got excited and had those 5-star vibes immediately. I I'm wondering if we can get through the Timmy's TBR board, the mini one, with all 5 stars, because at this point it's looking like we're gonna have 2 in a row, which, considering how this month has gone, that is amazing, because this month has not been 5-star energy up until this point. So we are turning it around this week, and I'm so glad. I'm gonna go read this. I'm so excited to dive back in, and I will probably check back with you around the 50% point, just because, again, there's not going to be that much I can talk about in this very chunky fantasy. Normally, I would check in more often. But since I'm not going to be able to talk about plotting at all and just talking about vibes, I don't think we'll need that many check-ins. But hey, you never know. I might have stuff to tell you. I might have things that I need to say and pop in before then, but we'll see. So in one day, I made it past the 50% point in Blood of the Chosen, and considering how chunky this fantasy book is, I'm flying. This is not surprising. I adored the first book, so I have just dived into this second with vigor, with vengeance, ready to take it all in, ready to be with these characters again, be in this world again, trying to unravel what is going on in this political system, what is going on here. I honestly do not know which side is the right side of this. Is Maya on the right side? Is Geyer on the right side? Is neither of them or both of them? Is there a middle ground? I don't know. I have no idea how this series is going to wrap up. No idea. And I cannot wait to finish this book and dive into the next. Luckily, I have the next one and the last one on Timmy's TBR. So I'll be getting to it soon because I need to know. I need to know what's going on. This book is the same as the first book. Obviously, same characters. You have the same vibes. You have the same sarcasm and banter. But we are definitely building on it. We're building on this world. We're building on what's happening in a way that I'm really enjoying. Also, this book has gone in directions that I never would have guessed. There was a moment yesterday on sprints where I came back from a sprint and I just went to Bree, what is going on? What is happening? This just got so weird, so out there. I was not expecting it, but here we are. And you know what? I'm here for it. I'm here for it. I'm here for all the weird and the vibes. I'm here for it. I feel like along with me finding out more about this world and about the magic system and about the past of this world, our characters are also discovering a lot. There's a lot based around the Chosen, which is the people who can have the power like Maya. They have the power of the Chosen. The Chosen have been deceased for many, many years, but the Centaurs and the order that took Maya, they can harness the power of the Chosen. And because the Chosen have been dead for centuries, there is not a lot known about them, so we're discovering more about the Chosen in this book. We're discovering more about the Order. We're discovering more about neighboring places, neighboring villages, and we're just unwrapping it all like a little present, and I'm enjoying my time so much with it. We also had a character from the first book, which I'm not going to say who it is because they are definitely a side character in the first book. But they are a main character in this book and in one of our 2 factions and in one of our 2 groups. And I am really enjoying the addition of this character and how their personalities lean into another fun character and how it enhances the book and what the book is trying to do. But I am immersion reading this book, and this afternoon I need to do some Christmas wrapping. And you may think I'm a little bit ahead. Christmas, we haven't even had Halloween, and I know. I'm not actually wrapping presents per se. I have decided this year to make myself my own book advent calendar, and I need to wrap all the books that I bought so that I forget them before I start unwrapping them in December. So I need to finish wrapping them now that I've purchased the last book. Some of them I've already wrapped. I've been kind of wrapping as I go for the last 6 months. But the last few that I needed to do, which is about 10, I think I have about 10 left that I need to wrap, I'm going to wrap this afternoon. Hence why I've decided for a Christmas sweater. I know, I'm early. I know some people don't like Christmas early, but I need to wrap these so that I forget that I bought them, so that they are a surprise when I unwrap them in December. And because I'm immersion reading this and I want to continue to immersion read this, I need another audiobook that I can do while I'm wrapping this afternoon. So I've done my last roll, and let's look into that.
Roll number 3 is a 6. And gets us to the end of the board and a mood read.
I did just say that was my last roll, so I did kind of spoil the outcome of this roll, but it got me to the end of the board, which is a mood read. And honestly, I did not really know what I wanted to read for this last space. All week, I'm like, what do I want to read when I get to a mood read? And I decided to pick up a novella from a novella series that I started during Face Off weekend for Tar. And that is the Improbable Meet Cute series. And the second one in that series is Abby Jimenez's Worst Wingman Ever. I have it on Kindle. I bought the audiobook. It was like $1 on Audible, so it was worth it. And I am going to probably very quickly read through this. It's only like an hour and a half long at regular speed. So this is not going to take me long. It probably won't even take all of my wrapping. Like I'll probably still be wrapping when this finishes. So then I might watch some BookTube, or I may just move on to the next novella in this series. We'll see how I feel, but this is what I'm going to be reading for the next hour-ish. And then once I'm done my wrapping, I will get back to Blood of the Chosen. Welcome to my Christmas wrapping station. I am almost done wrapping and I have just finished The Worst Wingman Ever. This was a really cute novella. I gave the first one in this series, written by Christina Lauren, 5 stars, and I'm gonna give this one 4. It was really good and I highly recommend checking out this novella series. In this series, we follow Holly and Jason. Holly is a hospice nurse and she is currently doing the job for her grandmother who is passing away. This obviously raises the sadness of that job to Holly. Obviously, she knows the weight of helping someone through their last days, but it is enhanced by the fact that it is her grandmother, and it really just hit all the feels for me, and there were definitely moments where I was welling up. She comes out to her car one day after doing her job with her grandmother and sees a note on her car. It is a Valentine that was never meant for her. It was put on the wrong car by the brother of the person giving the Valentine. The brother got the cars mixed up, put it on the wrong car. After realizing he put it on the wrong car, he leaves a note the next day apologizing for giving her this note and just being kind to her, and they keep passing notes on the cars back and forth. And obviously this is the start to a romance. We don't actually see the romances in these series. We just see the meet cutes. That's why it's called the Impossible Meet Cute series. So as soon as they finally come together, that's where the novella ends. This had me welling up, it had me feeling so many emotions, and it also had me laughing at times because there was a lot of fun stuff happening as well. But I am now going to finish up, clean up, and jump back into Blood of the Chosen and finish that up, because now that is technically my last book for Timmy's TBR-a-thon. Because obviously I finished the mood read before I finished my book that I have to finish before the end of the year. It's all fine, they're all gonna get done, but I gotta go do that. I don't know how much more of that I'm gonna get in tonight because we are going out to dinner for my mom's birthday. I'll take you along for that. So I'm not sure how much more reading I'm gonna get done today, but I'm really feeling accomplished that I at least got a book done, even though it was a smaller novella. Friends, I just finished Blood of the Chosen, and to be honest, I was debating giving this a 4.5 star until the end. The ending was fire. The ending had me, I wish I was filming myself reading the ending because I was putting the book down. I was clutching my pearls through that ending. I wish you could have seen it because I'm sure my facial expressions during the ending were hysterical. But I have to give this 5 stars. I have to. I do think the first book is a little bit better, but I still really love both books. And I just think I like the first book because the banter in the first book was a little bit better due to certain characters being more main characters in the first book. But this book had me constantly wondering what was happening. What is going on in the ending really had me just going, what the actual hell is happening? I honestly don't know how this series is going to wrap up in the last book, but I cannot wait to get to it. Unfortunately, it will not be right now. I am about to start a 24-hour timer vlog doing something completely different that does not work to read the next book in this series. But I do have a vlog later in the month of November that definitely could feature the last book. So hopefully I can get it in then because I need to know what happens after this ending. What is happening to my characters? I need to know. But 5 stars, and that does mean that the mini Timmy's board was so kind to me for this week. I had 2 5 stars and a 4-star read. I've enjoyed my reading so much. I've had just such a fabulous reading week and I really did need it. I know I've mentioned it a few times in this vlog, but I needed some wins. And the mini Timmy's board gave me those wins. Thank you, Timmy's gods. I am going to head out, close out this vlog. Thank you for hanging out with me and seeing what the mini round of my Timmy's board had in store. If you've made it to the end of the vlog but don't have anything to chat with me down in the comments about, leave me a star emoji for 2 5-star reads in this vlog. What a wonderful week for the 5 stars. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.